What's going on, guys, and welcome back to part 7 of the LS Swap Tacoma build series. In this episode, we're going to be getting the frame. We're going to go ahead and wire brush the whole frame. We're going to get it painted. We're going to get the transmission bolted up to the engine block, get it set down in the chassis, and then hopefully we'll have to see how much time we have. We may be able to get the cab set back down on the chassis, so then we can start doing all of our wiring, because I think that's going to take a while. So without further ado, let's get to it. Alright, so before we go ahead and start coating this frame, we're going to go ahead and wire brush it. So I'm going to have Jordan doing that while I finish welding in all these mounts, because whenever we tacked in, we put all this stuff in, our cross member, our engine mounts, I only had them tacked into place because I wasn't 100% sure how everything was going to fit. So we're going to go ahead and finish welding those up, get the frame all scuffed up, get the loose rust cleaned off of it, and then we'll go ahead and start coating it. Alright guys, so we got 2 coats of POR15 laid down on the chassis, and I'll tell you what, it literally looks brand new. This stuff it's really thick. You brush it on, it's self-leveling, and it is literally hard as a rock. I've actually gotten, whenever you're using these, the paint containers that they give you, if you get any of that paint on the rim of the lid of the paint can, you can forget about trying to get that lid back off. So whenever I buy the PR15, I usually buy it by the gallon, and then I'll dump it into individual like mason jars and then use them one at a time, because I actually bought a quart of this stuff one time and used a little bit of it and must have just didn't clean the rim of the paint can up enough and literally couldn't get the lid back off. So this stuff is, in my opinion, the best chassis coating that you can possibly put on a frame, aside from maybe powder coating, but that stuff's really expensive too. So now that that's done, let's go ahead and get this engine transmission back down in the chassis. Okay, so got the engine and transmission bolted back up, got them set back down in the chassis. Everything looks really good. Just before I go ahead and set the cab down on here, I just kind of was looking and seeing, checking out different clearances. Now that I have my cylinder heads on, the only issue that I'm seeing is I may have to do some custom exhaust work to this side, the driver's side, mostly because if I run the left manifold on the left side, this is the right manifold, so I have it, the right manifold on the left side, so I have it flipped going to the front. Reason being, if I put the left manifold on this side, I run into a clearance issue where the manifold hits the frame here, and then I also have my steering shaft here that's really going to get in the way. And I just don't see, I could definitely probably get a log manifold and make something work, but I think my best bet might be to get another. So I'll run the correct manifold on the passenger side, and then I'll get another passenger side manifold for the driver's side, and I'll flip it. And then I think what I'm going to do, because this is like literally touching the alternator, I think what I might do is cut this off right here and weld a V-band flange on, and then run an exhaust pipe maybe down around under the crank pulley, and I think I'll just heat wrap the hell out of it to kind of keep everything, keep the alternator from getting super hot, crank pulley and my belt from melting. And I'll run my exhaust underneath it here, down here, and out the back. So let me know what you guys think, but I think that's what I'm gonna do on this side. So I'll mess with that later, but for now I'm gonna get this manifold off, and I'm gonna go ahead and try and get this cab set down on the chassis. So far, looks like the only place we're hitting right now is this back corner. Everything else looks pretty good so far. So I'm going to go ahead and see if I can't reform that firewall and give us the clearance that we need to be able to drop this cab all the way back down. All right, got the cab set down, and really, that wasn't all that bad. Like I said before, the only real clearance issue I had was at that back passenger side corner, and I kind of dented that in. Once I pull the cab, eventually I'm going to pull the cab back off this thing to repaint it. So when I do that, I'll try and form that a little bit better and make it look like it was designed to be that way. But I've been just kind of playing around, seeing what fits. I put the brake booster on, that fits perfectly, so I'll be able to use the factory brake booster, master cylinder. What else? This manifold, back to that, I'm still going to have an issue. This is the right side manifold that I took off. I put it on this side. I cut this flange because my original plan was I was going to weld a V-band here and run my exhaust out the front and around out the back. But I'm still gonna have an issue with this steering shaft. My steering linkage is gonna hit right here. So I still may have to get another type of exhaust manifold, something a little more low clearance, something that hugs the cylinder head a little bit tighter. But we'll see. I'll definitely have to do a little bit of research during the week and see what I can find there. Other than that, I'm pretty much ready to, I'm gonna go ahead and get my lifter valley cover on, get my intake on. I'm still waiting for fuel rails to get here. What else? It looks like the bell housing is touching the transmission tunnel, like one point on this side and another point on this side. So I have to go ahead and clearance that a little bit. Everything else fits perfectly. It looks like I kind of did a measurement because I ordered a shifter for this transmission. It looks like my shifter is going to come out right about here where I put this mark. So that's not too bad. It's not too far back. That should work out perfectly. I'm gonna get my gas tank in so I can start running my fuel lines. Still waiting for my drive shaft. I have to figure out, I'm actually gonna go on tonight and see my drive shaft. I think I ordered that about 3 weeks ago. So that should be close. I should be getting that in here pretty soon. Other than that, it's just gonna be kind of starting to put things back together here and see what all fits, what I have to modify, but everything's looking pretty good so far. So let's go ahead and get this thing pushed back in the garage and keep plugging away here. So it's been about a week since that last clip. Over the course of the week, I ordered a bunch of parts. I got some manifolds that were a little bit more low profile, and my hope was that they were gonna clear my steering shaft, but it turns out they're a little bit better. They definitely give me some more room, but still not quite there. So what I'm gonna have to do is I'm gonna have to kind of do a custom steering shaft. I'm gonna have to add another U-joint and like a support bearing. So what we're gonna do is just put our factory, or our put these new manifolds on, and both of them I think pointing out the back, and I'm just gonna have to do something with my steering shaft and kind of make it work. So what we're gonna do today, I have all my wiring, I have my wire diagram. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna open this harness up. We're gonna kind of redo this harness, rework it, because there's a lot of stuff on here that I'm not going to be using. So I got to do that, and then somehow, you know, integrate that with some of the factory Toyota wiring. So I'm going to be working on that today. Jordan is going to be doing a lot of the smaller stuff that needs to be done. You know, all my little coil brackets that we painted, those will have to go on the coils, and lots of little stuff. The gas tank has to go back in, but I want to go ahead and clean that up first. Just all kinds of stuff. So we're gonna go ahead and just kind of start plugging away here and see what all we can get done. right, so we got our entire wiring harness completely stripped, all the looming pulled off. So what I'm going to go ahead and do now, I'm going to go ahead and take these covers off. These are my PCM connectors. So I'm going to go ahead and take the covers off the back side, and then I'm going to go through my wiring diagram, find out what each wire does, and I'm going to remove or depin each wire that I'm not going to be using to run this engine. So like a lot of the emission stuff, EVAP, EGR, things like that, is going to be removed. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. All right, so we got the covers off the PCM connectors, and what I've done here is I've laid out, this is my engine computer diagram. This is a 5-page diagram, and so what you have is you have one side, so your page number 1, this is your PCM. These are all your connector, or all your wires on the one connector, and then they go all throughout the circuit. And then you have your computer on the other, on the last page, and that is your other connector. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through each and every one of these, figure out what wires we need, what wires we do not need, and then we'll depin them from the connector, get them out of the harness, and then we're going to continue on. I also, because I'm not going to be running an automatic transmission, and the transmission is controlled also by the PCM, all of our transmission wiring, which is in one of these diagrams, we're going to go ahead and remove those as well. There's some other diagrams here I printed out. I have my charging system circuit, instrument cluster circuit, stuff that I may need. So we're going to kind of start going through and finding what we need and what we don't need and getting rid of those wires. Alright, so we got all of the wires that we are not going to be using depinned out of our PCM connectors. Some of the wires we're not using going to be like the downstream oxygen sensors, the purge solenoid, vent solenoid, fuel tank pressure sensor, some other just various wires. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pull these out of the harness, and then we're going to start kind of organizing this harness and getting it routed where we want it. We may actually, I think after I pull these wires out, I may actually kind of put it on the truck and start routing things where they're going to be going. I mean, not plug stuff in, but at least kind of like lay it in the general area where it's going to be, and then kind of see how everything looks. Alright guys, so I think that's going to wrap up part 7. We kind of have all of our wiring laid out and separated. We know where everything's going to go. At this point, we just need to kind of get everything plugged in and kind of get it all tidied up. Figure out where we're going to mount our computer. I have to make a fuse box. That's all going to be inside the cab. We do still have a good bit of work ahead of us. I have to run my exhaust system. I have to figure something out for our steering linkage, or our steering column. I got to run my fuel lines, brake lines, power steering lines. So like I said, we still have a good bit of work ahead of us, but we're slowly getting there. We're chipping away. We should have this thing running pretty soon here, hopefully. I'm still waiting for my drive shaft to show up. Hopefully that will be here soon. At least, by the time I get all this stuff done, hopefully it's here. But until then, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, drop a comment down below, guys, and let me know what you think. If you have any suggestions or whatever, I'm always open to any kind of suggestions. So until next time, peace.